All right, we're back.
Back.
Episode 5. In this bitch.
Week 6, episode 5.
Week 6. Yes, so sorry for the delinquency of the newest episode. As we talked about on episode 4, my birthday was last Thursday. My parents invited me over to the house last minute after I told Teach that we were going to record, and then my dad made it seem like he was going to have like a birthday surprise for me or something, which I don't really care about gifts. But I got there and I was like, oh, yeah, what's up? Oh, nothing. Just wanted to see if you want to come over. I'm like, oh, okay. So just ended up talking with my dad and mom and whatnot.
So you need to see your parents for your birthday.
Yeah, I was like, it's cool.
They birthed you.
I was like, yeah, they... Well, not my dad. My dad just came and my mom and,
Yeah, right.
She did all the work. Well, it was like, I saw them on Thursday anyway because we went to go see my sister perform with the color guard at the football game. They just happened to play on my birthday, so I was like...
What school does your sister go to?
She goes to Stevens High School.
Petringa. We've talked about this.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I think so. Well, I think we talked about it off the podcast.
Right. Okay.
We talked about it when we had dinner at Chunky's.
Okay. Yeah. Because I remember asking that.
What'd you think of Chunky's, by the way?
Delicious. It was even good the next day. Which I thought it wasn't going to be good because I was like, it's probably soggy as fuck. But you threw that sucker in the microwave it for about 20 seconds, get it hot, and then throw it in the toaster oven for about 10 minutes. It gets firm. Everything was great. It was delicious. Very good.
Love Chunky's, bro.
It was good.
Shout out to Teach for having a drink ready for me by the time I got there. That was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, because I drink Angry Orchard. I love Angry Orchard so much. So I drink on almost every episode. And boom, right there, I got there. Because they got there right before us. We got there late to my own birthday dinner.
Yeah.
And then boom, right there on the table. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Beer.
That's how you do it. Fuck.
It was amazing. So episode 5, week 6. I think we have a big episode for us today. Episode 5, make it Grand Slam.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Got some good controversial, get to know you kind of stuff.
Get to know you right in your face.
Yeah, right in your face.
So let's move on to our fan favorite segment. Because I got a good one this week. If you want to go ahead and hit it up.
You're the jerk of the week. You're a jerk and it's your week. You really outdid yourself like a crazy super jerk. You're probably a big jerk every week, but this week you're the jerk of the week.
Longer on the theme
Yeah,
song there.
I
that
wanted
time.
to see how it kept going for that one.
Well, yeah, it was good. So, Teach doesn't have one. I know I'm about to rant on for a tiny bit here, so bear with me. So, a little bit of backstory on this. I do get temperamental from time to time.
Amen.
And then, but it's never just out of spite. I usually stick up for people. I'm really big on that. So, with that being said as well, my first job I worked at SeaWorld. I worked in food service, and I worked at an amusement park at a snack bar. And I've been many times been the only person working there, so I know how people get when they want food and drinks and stuff. So
That's a big thing. When you work retail or food service, you have a little place in your heart for... It always goes back to, where to...
I know what it's been like.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and I've done both food and retail, so I know it's insane. So I've dealt with a lot of bullshit as a regular employee and as a supervisor. Yeah. So last week, the day before, technically, no, Monday before, when we should have been recording that last week, October 16th.
Uh-huh.
I went to Subway. I ordered me and my fiance Subway off the app because I'm like, on mobile apps for food. So I'm just like, let me try it. Because we were both too lazy to make dinner. We conveniently had a little bit of money. I was like...
As are most Americans.
Exactly.
Which is why we have a Subway. And an app to buy Subway.
So that way you just go there, pick it up, and get back home.
Right.
So that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I put it in. It said it'd be ready around 7:30 something or another, right? I was like, okay. So I was like, because it's like 3 minutes away. Like, I was like, okay, I waited till 7:30.
The one by Luciano's?
Yeah, the one right
next
here.
Next to it?
Yeah. Right across the street from a Pollo Loco.
Yeah.
And so, got there, and I can see from the window it's packed inside. Which I'm like, okay, it's whatever, because I ordered my food on the app, so it's going to be ready.
Right.
And you can see from inside, excuse me, that there's a sign above the counter that says mobile app pickup here. Okay, go inside. They actually have that area blocked off with chairs. So I'm like, shit. I'm like, okay, so I gotta wait in line like everybody
Fuck your
else.
ass.
And I was like, man, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
So you walk in, it just smells burnt. It smells weird in there.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay. So then there's a long line of people. There's one guy behind the counter. I kind of look, because you kind of see the back, and I was like, it doesn't sound or look like anybody's back there. So I'm like, it's just this one poor guy.
Which is insane, because what time is it?
It's around 7 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock.
7 o'clock, that is a dinner rush time for a restaurant. Like, how do you have one person working at 7 o'clock? Like, that's ridiculous.
Exactly.
On Subway's part. On that establishment's part.
So I'm like, and again, well, the people called in, mind you, like the...
Okay.
He said, even his supervisor called in for the day. So it's like, he was this poor sucker that's been there all day by himself, I presume. I don't know what his shift was, but I know he was there at that time, so I walk in, I see he's dealing with other people's orders. People are literally telling him, hurry up, hurry up. And he's there by himself. He can't say anything back, It's not like he can be like, hold the fuck on, or anything like that. So, and they're older people. I'm 23 years old now. This is right at the cusp when I was about to be 23. Baby. So I'm over here, this 20-something-year-old kid. I'm like, whatever.
Are you 23 now?
23 now.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
So it's like, I'm over here waiting like, okay, whatever, I'll have to wait. I see the breads that I ordered for my sandwich. I ordered Italian. Leslie ordered Italian urban cheese.
Which is the correct bread to order.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good, yeah.
Okay, that's right. I've heard the story, so I know where it goes. But...
So we're there, and I see him getting ready to start making our sandwiches. And mind you, he's making our sandwiches before other people. Because of the app, he has a deadline to make the sandwich by, which he's already missed, but whatever.
Right.
So...
But he's showing effort.
Yeah. And he has this train of bread, everywhere. So I see him, so me and my fiance, we both order on the same side, as the same aspect, turkey and American cheese, toasted, with lettuce. So I see him, kind of putting lettuce on both, kind of knocking two birds out with one stone. Mm-hmm. But then I ordered pickles on mine. Leslie didn't. And so he puts the pickles on it. And I'm like, oh, wait. No.
You both ordered turkey, though?
Yeah, we both ordered turkey.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, wait, no, I think he's doing the wrong one. Because I know Leslie ordered green peppers. And then I was kind of like, well, it looked like green peppers. It looked like pickles. I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, I'll let it slide. But then he pulls out the mustard. Leslie hates mustard.
What?
I love mustard.
Yeah.
He slathers it on the Italian urban cheese bread.
So between the both of y'all know how to make a sandwich. Y'all just individually, you don't.
Yeah, we just don't.
You pick the right bread. Leslie fucks up with the mustard and no pickles. Who doesn't put pickles?
She picked Italian urban cheese. I picked Italian, but...
Okay, she got the bread then.
Yeah,
She's smart.
She made
she fucks it up with no mustard. You gotta put mustard on a turkey sandwich.
Hey, her sandwich is her business. So, but the guy put essentially the sandwich I requested on the wrong bread. Put Leslie's sandwich on my bread.
Right.
So I could see the guy getting halfway done making everything.
Which is not the biggest of mistakes.
It's not, which I don't care.
Yeah.
And so.
But some people.
The guy, he looks at it. He looks at the receipt. And he kind of looks up at the sky like, fuck me.
Yeah.
And so I can see he gets frustrated with this. And because I don't care that much, I'm just like, hey. And I say, hey.
It's bread.
I'm like, hey, it's okay. Just redo the Italian urban cheese sandwich. Just kind of redo it. And he's all like, I can't. I burnt the rest of the Italian urban cheese. I burnt the rest of the bread I was baking.
Oh, you're saying I'll take what you made for mine, but just redo Leslie's.
Yeah, just leave mine on the bread, but redo Leslie's sandwich.
Even though that was wrong.
Yeah. I was like, just redo it. I'll eat the Italian urban cheese.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish I could, and he walks over to the oven, and it black, pitch black bread, everything. So whatever bread he had left in the little container where they keep the already baked ones, and that was all he had for the rest of the night.
Was burnt bread?
No. There's the oven, and then there's the thing you keep them in.
Right.
So oven, burnt. Kept, leftovers. Whatever was salvageable. No more Italian urban cheese. So I'm like, it's okay. My fiance will live. I was like, we'll eat the sandwiches. Yeah. And so it's not like she ordered wheat bread and gluten-free and all this
Right,
stuff. Then
right.
it would be a problem. So then I say, it's okay, my fiance will live. Kind of in a joking manner, like, it's just bread. The chick that's at the front of the line looks like something in her 40s and 50s years old. You're really going to deprive your fiance of her correct sandwich?
Oh my god.
You're really going to let him get away with his mistake?
Ugh.
And I was like, it's not that big a deal. And I feel myself getting irritated because I'm just like, you shouldn't be
Stay in
concerned.
your lane, first
Yeah.
of all. Like, it ain't your fucking
Like, don't be
sandwich.
concerned what I
Like-
paid my fucking money for.
Right.
So then I'm like, it's not that big a deal. It's just bread. And then I'm like, she'll live. You millennials? And I was like, millennial nothing, bitch. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, no, it's nothing. I was like, I'm not going to get mad at this guy because he mixed up the breads. I was like, it's fucking bread.
Right.
This dude in front of me, who, by the way, requested that his tuna get toasted, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
I know you can put tuna on toast, but
Yeah.
toasting the tuna? Like, that's just stupid. So, you don't talk to her. And I was like, you better shut the fuck up before I fucking say something to you too. And his wife's all like, you just leave him alone. And he's like, no, he shouldn't be talking. I was like, no, you guys shouldn't be fucking talking to this guy like
Yeah.
that. I was like, he's the only guy. It's not his fault that all of us were fucking too lazy to make our own dinner.
Yeah.
We all came here for one purpose. We wanted Subway, had the money to afford it. I'm going on, and I'm
Could have
getting...
went and bought the ingredients for the sandwich.
Exactly.
For the week.
I was like, what
But-
could have been probably cheaper, by the
Right,
way.
Right.
And
Or
so
at
I'm-
least fed you for a longer time.
Exactly.
For the same
So I'm
price.
like, so I'm getting super pissed off, and I'm just like, when I get mad and I start yelling and stuff, the anger just keeps building and it just doesn't contain itself.
I need to take you to see my neighbors.
Right? I'm just like, oh, I'm telling you, bro, I'm telling you. And so it's like, so I'm getting in the screaming match with almost everybody in Subway. The employee is like, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's okay. He's like, I'm like, no. I was like, that's fucking bullshit. I was like, they shouldn't be treating you like that. I was like, it's not your fucking fault. You're the only person here. So he finishes making my sandwiches. I pick them up. And I cut in front of the lady that was telling me shit about
You're
being
like,
a millennial.
check this millennial app out, bitch.
Yeah, right. I'm just like, that's why I ordered ahead, you dumb cunt. Like,
Yeah. Ooh.
Jesus Christ. I know. I'm getting all heated up talking about it again. Like, and so then, like, she's all, like, making this face, like, rolling her eyes or whatever. And I could tell she's about to start mouthing off. And, like, the dude, too, now started talking up on behalf of this chick. And I was like, if you have something to say, fucking say it to my face, dude. Like, I was like, I was about to throw my
And
sandwiches
Subway
on the
did it.
floor.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. And so then the employee walks out behind the counter and gives me a bunch of free cookies. He's like, here, man. I was like, I'm really sorry about messing up the order. I was like, it's okay, bro. I was like, don't even worry about it. It's okay. No, here, have it. I was like, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that. And I was like, I really appreciate that. And so the rest of the people were all like rolling their eyes and making faces, like snarky, snobby
Bro,
faces.
Thank you, sir. Fuck you guys.
And I was like, fuck all y'all. And I'm like, people are so disgusting. And like, so I get home.
They really are.
And like I get like, and Leslie knows when I'm pissed. Like she just kind of lets me vent and just like, okay. So I walk in, I slam the door, and Leslie without missing a beat, she's just on her computer. What happened now? And like she already knows. Like
because she wasn't there with you.
yeah, I went by myself because she was
yeah.
too lazy to get dressed and do all that stuff. So she's just on the computer doing
Story of my
homework.
life, too.
And I come in, I'm like, motherfucking people. And I was like, son of a bitch. She's like, what happened now, babe? And I tell her about the story. She's like, babe, you shouldn't get crazy like that. I'm like, well, they're yelling at this poor guy.
That's true,
I said
though.
kid when I was explaining the story. I was like, he's older than me. He looks like he's in his 30s.
You
Like,
feel like a kid, though. You gotta tell him how to act around in public and shit.
I'm just like, I was like, this fucking poor guy. And Leslie's like, well, babe, he
But she's
finally-
like, but meanwhile, this is the wrong bread, motherfucker.
because I told her that, I was like, look, you're gonna have
You
to
didn't get my bread?
you're gonna have to eat your sandwich on Italian. I'm sorry. You're gonna watch
Meanwhile, you
me.
got lettuce. Why don't you just switch them when you got home? Can you just pick it up?
Well, because
No?
he.
Oh, but the mustard.
I was like the mustard,
The
yeah.
mustard,
Because
yeah.
the Italian urban cheese bread, everything was fine until he put the mustard and the
Yeah.
pickles, and then on hers.
Leslie gotta learn how to eat a sandwich. 'cause
Right.
Mustard is delicious on turkey sandwiches.
It
like,
is. It's amazing.
Mustard is delicious.
in general.
I
I
put
like.
that shit in my coffee. Like mustard is great. Yeah.
So that was my jerk of the week.
Yeah.
Were those
fuck,
people.
Fuck all those.
Fuck all y'all. If you're
Yeah.
listening,
If you're 4
fuck
years
you.
old, you suck.
If you're 44 years old and you call people millennials, I hope you fucking
Right.
die. Like I'm so like,
And you will in 50 to 60 years.
by my hands, like ah.
Oh, they meant general because they just will.
I'll just be
Because they're
there.
old, and that's what old people do is they get old and die.
Die. And
And we will too after you, and our generation after us will say the same thing about us. But
lose my anger.
but we're not gonna bitch at them for using apps and
I'm like-
not caring about bread and shit.
Ay.
Yeah. All right. So
that's
moving
that.
on, moving right along. It's always weird doing it at my place. I feel like because it's so loud. I'm not used to.
It is
being-
amplified.
I'm not used to being very. I have a meditation room in my apartment. That's and we use it for the podcast when we're at my place. We switch off with David's in my place. But here it's very quiet. And there's not a lot of talking that goes on in here.
Yeah.
You know, because I either do my meditation or I'm doing homework, both of which are very quiet. So it's very
Yeah.
funny to, and then to be around the stuff. It's kind of like just.
That's what I
it's
feel.
not
I'm like,
bad.
I'm cussing and stuff. And
It's
I'm
not
like,
bad though. I mean, it is what it is, but it is just a different feel to it of the room. I
Right.
like it. Anyways, moving right along.
moving right along.
We got a listener letter. Finally.
dude.
Piece of shit listeners.
I was
If y'all
like-
just, I know you got something to say.
Oh,
Everyone's got
by the
something to say.
way, we got to 50 views on episode 1.
Did we?
We got 50 views, dog. Like, yeah, cheers to that, motherfucker.
Woo.
Like,
Are we still
so
at one dislike?
yeah, each
One
video has
dislike.
one dislike
Oh, okay. And
across the
one
board.
like.
Yeah, one like.
Probably me from me.
Yeah, I was like, I know I liked it. So, selfless like.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were telling me that you saw we got an email.
Yes, we got an email. And again, you can always send your emails. Any rants, raves, opinions, opinions that are not well favored that you just feel that are true and whatever. Let's talk about it.
Let's
We
do
might read you for filth, but let's talk about it. So this one was the subject was from Anonymous. So we'll keep them anonymous.
Keep them anonymous.
I'm not sure if it's a guy or girl, and they don't use their name, so I don't have to make up a name. But
Because it's anonymous. I'll go ahead and read that.
You wanna
right
read
now.
this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here. I got it pulled up in front of me. Alrighty. So we received anonymous, and I think this really plays well into teach.
It's what I
Yeah.
had stuff lined up to talk about, and this kind of really does segue into it pretty
Yeah,
nicely.
it does. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah.
So here's what we got from anonymous. I am a teacher, and I get frustrated with parents more than students sometimes. When parents say things like, "Oh yeah, my kid is bad at home too," and I tell them to stop all the time. But when they're at school, they're your responsibility. You get paid to do that. Yes and no. Yes, they're my responsibility while they're in my classroom, but no, I do not get paid to babysit your child. My job is to educate them. I think that it's ridiculous when parents say irresponsible things like this. Like, I have your child for this year, but you have them for the rest of your life. Really, what is y'all's opinion or insight on parents who say things like this? If you got phone calls or actually saw yourself how your child was acting up, would you get after your kid or just think that the teacher isn't doing their job right? I'm interested in to hear from people who aren't teachers to see if I'm being biased.
Definitely from Texas with the y'all. Is there y'alls in there, or were you just saying that?
I think
there's
I was.
y'alls.
Oh, there's y'alls in there?
Yeah, there is y'alls in there.
I thought I was saying it by
Definitely
accident.
from Texas. So good to know.
So,
So the students are acting a fool, and the
parents are getting mad at the teacher
right
for acting a fool.
for
Misbehaving during school. So what I'm picturing is that the kid's a little dipshit at the house. Parents can't control them. So then they go to school, act like a little dipshit,
Right.
and then the parents, due to their negligence of raising to discipline their child,
Absolutely. No,
they're getting mad at the teachers and stuff.
right.
Because I imagine this kid is going to the principal's office constantly.
And they don't want to be bothered with this.
Yeah, like, hello, like, do you want to know what your son did right
Right.
now?
The teacher's saying you're acting up. Your child is, and the parent is going, your problem, because 8 to 3 or whatever is
Oh,
your
no.
problem. And I deal with them after, and you deal with them there. And why are you bugging me?
I was like, that doesn't help anybody.
Almost like they're co-parenting or something.
Yeah,
like two different parents.
like they're divorced parents. Like, hey, you take like, I'm not responsible for what he does on your time. Like, that's kind of messed up.
This is my worst fear. Because I am not a teacher yet, even though I am the teacher.
Yeah, I was like,
I am in school
you will
to be a
teacher,
and I have not yet had in my own classroom. But I have been in classrooms and everything's been pretty good so far. But apparently, and this happens for everyone, is that the parents are usually the worst part of teaching.
I hear.
Because they either are overly, the kid's still at their tit or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. And then, or they're just completely negligent, where they were like, I went up, like, quit bugging me, which it sounds like is what they're dealing with here, where they're just like, yeah, teachers are not babysitters. It's different. If you want a babysitter, that's a totally different profession. It costs a lot more because it's a public school, so it's free. The teacher is not supposed to be the babysitter. We're not supposed to just entertain your badass kid. I use badass and not in a... That connotates for some people as like a cool thing. But
yeah, no,
you're badass, like bad, like a shitty ass kid.
You're a dipshit. You're a little twerp.
Dipshit kid. It's not the teacher's responsibility to have to deal with that for the 8 hours. That's not what they're going to school for. And they're not the only fucking student there. If you want a babysitter at that age too, it's very specialized. Your kid probably has some issues. It's going to be really expensive if you want that kind of treatment. If you want to go to public school, they got to act right. You got to teach them how to act right. If you don't know how to act right, maybe you should go back to school and see what you can do to understand how to act.
Like you need a re-up in a...
Yeah. If my kid was doing that, if I got a call from the teacher that my student was acting up, I would fully whoop the kid's ass.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I was a pretty not troublesome, like a little delinquent, but like I would act like a brat in class, like I would be disruptive and stuff like that, distracting.
Sure.
And because I'm very sarcastic, and I know I get that from my dad and my family.
It goes to a point though.
Mm-hmm.
When you're acting up.
So I would get sent to the principal's office and stuff, and then my dad and the principal were really close. So I remember getting spankings in the principal's office for acting like a little twerp.
By your dad or?
By my dad.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
like by my dad. And so like he would come down there, like if I got in trouble for cussing or something, my dad like not teach you to say that kind of thing out in public and this and that, and which I wasn't allowed to cuss at all. I would say it to feel cool.
Right.
And but I would get whooped.
It was if the teacher had some kind of grievance, your ass was swiftly punished for it.
Yeah, like when the teacher.
And that was the point. You could knock off in class, but it got to a point, and then when you went over that point, you got a quick little, quit
yeah,
doing
like if like when the teachers would threaten, do you want me to call your mom or dad?
Right.
Oh,
that was the ultimate.
Like I was like, no, please don't.
Right.
Like I have my PlayStation 2. Leave me alone. Like that was the thing. The only time, however, bringing that up, the only time I feel, and my parents felt too, that I had a really bitchy teacher was and I remember it all clearly. It was in 4th grade. Teacher name was Miss Caldwell. And it was the last time Ohio State played in the...
what school?
Robba Elementary. It's over on Ellison.
And
here in San Antonio.
Ray Ellison?
No, not Ray Ellison.
Oh.
Ellison, yeah.
I don't know Ellison.
I was like, no, it's over there. But, so, the Ohio State Buckeyes played at the Fiesta Bowl in the Alamo Dome, and they played the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Well, my teacher is an Oklahoma State alumni. My dad, he's from Columbus and everything, we're big Buckeyes fans. I didn't get to go to the game because it was on school night, but my parents went, and then they bought me, an Ohio State t-shirt, whatever. I wore it to school the next day, and I was so happy. And Ohio State murdered them. Like, Ohio State, bent them over the table and had their way. Like, it was
What grade were you in?
I was in 4th grade.
Okay.
And so I'm all happy. I'm in school, and I had a friend that was going for Oklahoma. And I was kind of like, Ohio State won, whatever, David. They got lucky. They cheated, little kid talk.
Nana boo-boo, stick your head in doo-doo.
Right? And so the teacher goes, David, move your card to red. Like the little, the behavior card things.
Oh, right, sure.
And I was like, move my card to red? Why? And the class is all, oh.
David, move your card to red.
And I'm like, what did I do? And she goes, go to the principal's office. So I was like, because if you went to red, it was automatic office.
Oh, okay.
And so I go down there, and the principal's name was Mr. Klein, and he goes, Mr. Clare, what are you doing down here? And I was like, Miss Caldwell sent me to come to the office. Well, why? What happened? I don't know. I was talking with Joseph about the Ohio State game, and I said, haha, Ohio State won. They beat Oklahoma, and she sent me over here. Over the Ohio State game? I don't know. Please go back to the classroom. So, like, I was, like, traumatized.
It's really
like,
long voice parody there.
No. Yeah, I had to do it. And so, like, so I went home because I was petrified because, like, I thought I was behaving for a good while. Like, I hadn't been in the office in forever.
Right.
And so
Wait, and are you saying that because she went for the other team that you feel like that's why she was fucking with you? Or
she did. She told my dad that.
Oh,
She told my dad. She
it
said,
wasn't because you were being a dick, though.
She
To
sent me
the other
to
student.
She sent me to the office because I was bragging Ohio State won. That was the reason why she sent me to the office.
Okay.
She told my dad that. I was in the room when she told my dad that.
Alright.
And then because my dad was like, wait, because Oklahoma State lost, like that's why you sent my son to the principal's office? Yes, and he was making another student feel bad about it. And my dad was like, who? I was like, Joseph from our Boy Scout troop? You know, them two play around like that all the time. And then she was like, well, I don't tolerate that kind of, bragging and stuff in my classroom. You need to teach your son to be more respectful of others. I just remember my dad walked out, like, he walked me out.
I can see that being, that's
and
not,
so, like, and I got
that's
moved.
not a good reason enough.
Yeah.
I was actually going to be on the teacher's side on the sense that maybe you were being just kind of irate about it, but she probably did have some. We're all human, though, too. That does come up. I'm more than sure that she was in the wrong game.
I was like...
And that happens, though, and the student and the parent can walk right off strifefully and, take that win. And that's fine.
Mhm.
That is fine. But
It's not all the time.
most of the time, that's not the case.
Exactly.
And this one says, the quote was, I'm looking at it now. Oh yeah, my kid is bad at home and telling them to stop all the time, but when they're at school, they're responsible. You get paid to do that. You get paid.
You get paid to raise that child.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's not, no.
I'm not, as if when I become a teacher, I'm not raising your child, and you're not paying me to do that. I'm getting paid by the school district to teach my curriculum, and if your student is not abiding by my rules, they go to the office, and then we call you and disrupt your day because of your students.
Because they disrupted my day.
Because of your students' actions. I don't want to call you. I'm not going to call you. I'm going to talk to the principal, and they're going to call you, and I want nothing to do with you, to be honest. I want nothing to do with you as a parent, unless you want to help. Unless you are trying to help your student and my job easier. I know you don't know shit. I know you don't know shit because I had to take these fucking math classes that I know you don't know shit. So you just stay in your lane and get the fuck out of my way so I can teach your kid basic fucking math.
Right.
And if they're having a hard time doing it, it's their fault.
Right.
and if it's behavioral shit, and if they're not getting it, they're not getting it. I will do everything I can to try to help. But if it's behavioral shit, I'm the lax. I don't know how this teacher is. He or she might be like really a hard ass, and maybe this is too much, or maybe they're really lax. But I know I'm really lax. If it's a behavioral thing in my classroom, it's your student being a shithead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing is that you're probably a shithead too, and that's probably why.
I was like, shithead is in the genetics.
Yeah.
Like, it'll carry
shitheads
down.
breed shitheads, and it sucks.
Like your
because-
upstairs neighbors. They're just a bunch of inbred shitheads.
Yes, they're just garbage trash people that just inhabit the world everywhere you fucking go. They're upstairs, they're in your classrooms, they're buying insurance policies that call you and shit, and you gotta deal with it.
Hey, I'm biased on that one, sir.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's just...
Cause like, the teacher's purpose is to further educate the kids. The children are the future.
Right.
They're supposed to help them be prepared for higher education, and as they progress and, throughout their, elementary, middle school, high school, whatever grade it may be.
The whole career.
So it's
We're there
supposed
to help the student. That's why we're there.
It's like, but, like, if your kid... Because here's my thing, and it's funny that you mentioned this because Leslie, for one of her classes here recently, she had to write a paper about youthful kids and behavior and everything like that, and she was like, pulling up all these statistics as she's doing research. So like the kids that disrupt class, the kids that usually get in a lot of trouble, and especially in grade school, like elementary school and stuff, they tend to grow up to be criminals or unsuccessful people. It's bad to say it, but the statistics are there.
Right. No,
especially
it's very true.
It's like especially in kind of lower income areas of towns and stuff. Like that's why it's always that tremendous story. Oh, I grew up in the ghetto and I was the first one to go in my family to college and this and that. It's like you hear that because people tend to and I hear the teachers again because I'm not a teacher. I've never been in the education field. But I always hear, because I do have a couple other teacher friends as well, that they say, when a kid is just being so bad, they just give up on that student. And it's like, with you being a teacher, or going to be a teacher, if a kid was just no matter what you did to try to help them, would you being a teacher, be okay with giving up on a student per se? To give up on their education, not just disciplining them in class.
No, and there's the disconnect too, is that, and it's not a bad, it's a very obvious and it's a very understandable disconnect for parents and teachers and the student, where some students are they just do not want to learn, and they do not, and the way we present our learning system is the way we present it, and there are better ways and there are worse ways, but wherever you're at is, and here it's here. In America, you can discuss Holland. Denmark has the best whatever, and then Asia has a really high, but then there's a higher suicide rate.
Right.
You can there's better and worse, and this and that. The disconnect comes from you as a parent, and you have your one kid in that one class. You might have multiple kids, but for each one it's specific.
Yeah.
That one student, he kind of acts up. Sometimes he acts up. And now the teacher's just going to dismiss him like that. That's how the parent kind of comes off. Meanwhile, the teacher is going, I have 30 of these students, and half of them act like your student.
Right.
And yours acts the worst out of the half that act bad. I have to deal with half of my class acting like this. The other half wants to really learn and really does adapt to the way we teach our curriculum that can really prosper. The other half doesn't, and then yours is the worst too. We're not singular teacher. We're not tutors. You know what I mean? We have a classroom of 25 to 30
And that's not
students.
even to attest for if you do middle school or high school where it's multiple classes a day of 30 something
Well, it's
students.
high school. Yeah. It's elementary, you have your...
You have just the basic class. Yeah.
Right. And then high school, forget about it. Yeah, you got 20 students, 8 classes of 20 students.
Exactly.
And the teacher this parent goes, well, it's my kid though. But then the teacher's like, yeah, but I got 140 of them, and 3/4 of them are getting it. 1/4 of them isn't, and yours is one of them. It's on you at this point because what I'm doing is pretty much working. You know, what I'm saying? In the way our society says we should teach. You need to help more. The disconnect comes where the parent sees it as we're doing something wrong, the teacher. And I'm kind of biased because I'm very biased because I'm in the
and that's
teaching
fine because just when it comes anything that insurance, I'm very biased on that. I'm always going to be on the insurance side of things.
Right.
So no, and I agree. You're not wrong in saying that. Especially if you could kind of prove that. Look, I have let's say what
you can really prove because look at the graduating class.
Look at the grades that those kids are making.
When you graduate, you've passed.
Exactly.
And if your student isn't following this system that leads to graduation, that's and is it because they don't get it or because they're acting up and they have to keep going to the office?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they acting up? I'm not picking on your student. I don't care. I have 140 of y'all and y'all all suck. So I'm not.
See, and I was the kind of student, especially in high school, because I felt like I was pretty successful in school, in elementary school and in middle school. I started declining when 8th grade I found out that I got bumped up to algebra instead of just the 8th grade math. Mm-hmm. So I got really nervous that I was ahead in math.
That's a dip in our system that we do that too.
And so I was like, and so that's when I started doing really terrible. in math, and I would be that student that was like, oh yeah, I got this, but like I would like struggle at home, like doing homework, I wouldn't do it, I just wouldn't turn it in, get zeros, because I was too afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until my junior year when I was in college algebra, like the senior year math, where that's where I started. I had a really cool teacher. His name was Mr. Peace, and he taught at Stevens High School and he taught at Northwest Vista. And like, and he was my 8th period class, and I would stay after school a little bit, like in his class, and he would help me out. And he really taught me. He was helping me out with
What
shit.
high school you?
Stevens.
Oh, okay.
That's the only high school I went to. Stevens High School.
Yeah.
And so like it was just like he was really cool, and like he helped me understand like geometry that I struggled back with fucking freshman year. Like he helped me with a bunch of shit, and I was just like, wow. Now I feel like I'm a little bit okay. Like when we were talking about math a few
How many
weeks
credits
ago.
did you have to take to graduate in high school? For your high school?
How many credits?
Yeah, for like a regular degree. Was it 26?
I think it was 27.
27?
I think so.
Because my class 2010 we only needed 24 credits, but I know the 2011 and higher they added 2 credits because my class was the last class that we only needed 3 science and 3 math. Everyone after us had to take 4 science.
Yeah,
Did you have to take 4 science, 4 math?
Yeah, I had to take 4 science, 4
Yeah.
math.
What was your last science?
My last science was anatomy. Because
wow. And what was your last math? Algebra 3?
College algebra.
You took college algebra.
Because the way if you were to stay on the typical plan, it would be algebra freshman, geometry sophomore, algebra 2 junior,
and then
you could pick either college algebra. You could pick.
There's an algebra 3.
I don't know if my school offered algebra 3. To be honest, there was a different type of math.
It would have
class.
been right under college algebra. Though.
It was
pre-cal. You probably could have.
It was pre-cal. There you go.
Even
it was
calculus,
pre-cal.
probably, but
that was the other math. And so, like my junior year, because again I was a heading year in math, they gave me the option of pre-cal or college algebra, and I was like, I'll do college algebra because I just got an algebra 2.
I don't know why they don't just make everyone take that because if you can pass it, you get your college algebra credit.
And I was like, I barely passed it, so.
You know what time it is, though, right?
Oh, it's that time of the week. It is the teacher's smoke break.
You legit gotta have a smoke break.
Alrighty.
What am I gonna do during class? I'm about to leave class halfway through to get a smoke break.
Oh,
y'all, fuck off. You know what time it is?
Like, start working on the. I'll give you these 10 minutes right now to catch up on last night's homework so you can turn it in. I'll be right back.
Yep. That's exactly what I'm gonna do.
And we'll be right back right now. Alright.
And we're back.
We're back. Oh, damn it. I
was trying to get you on it.
Yeah.
Because you're usually pretty quick.
And we're back. Alright.
We're back.
So, we left off right before smoke break. And we were talking about giving up on students. That kind of segued from the parents and the teachers.
Listener letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, before we started recording, when we were kind of mapping things out to an extent, Teach brought up a video that he was actually going to talk about last week when we were supposed to record, and then which does take in part to the whole teacher thing and kind of getting up to that point where you're done with the student. If you want to go ahead and describe what the video was.
Yeah. So the video it's a 3rd grader who is just going apeshit, yelling and screaming and just being really irate as a student, right? Which, and in a classroom, you can't. How do you deal with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are ways that they tell you, but obviously, ideally, you should try to deal with them this way. But realistically, a lot of them don't work.
Mm-hmm.
So, probably a liaison officer of the school came in and handcuffed the 3rd grader, and the 3rd grader is very small, so his wrists do not fit the handcuffs. So the cop handcuffed his, I guess you'd call it, not his forearm, right above his forearm.
His bicep?
His biceps, yeah. It's funny to have a thing of a 3rd grader with biceps, but yeah, the biceps, yeah. He put him behind his back, handcuffed his biceps together, and it doesn't look the most uncomfortable, but officer arresting, putting handcuffs on a 3rd grader is just really
strange,
aggressive looking. Yeah, okay. It's really aggressive looking too. So right off the back, just with that story, if you were to tell someone that, it's like the officer is in the wrong. Like that is just completely over the top. It's too much. And the officer was fired. It was in Kentucky. He was fired. Now, if you watch the video, the kid is in there screaming. He has his arms handcuffed behind him. He's just screaming and going crazy. And the cop is talking to the student saying, listen, you are irate and you're acting full and there are consequences. I'm ad-libbing, but that was one thing where he said there are consequences. That's why you have the handcuffs on you. If you calm down and I can see that you can act normally, I will take them off. And the kid just starts screaming in like defiance and like really going. He's like, I'm not going to take the cuffs off. And that's basically the entirety of the video. I'm on the fence as an educator and as a person watching it. As an educator, I can see why the officer was let go because the district doesn't want the press.
Yeah.
It's very easy to. At the same time, though, why was the officer called in? The student was acting irate in the classroom, which is not helpful for any of the students or himself. No one's learning at this point the way the student's acting. And the idealistic ways of dealing with this troublesome student have obviously failed at this point. I'm sure the teacher. Now, the thing is that the media, you don't think that, right?
Right.
Only because I'm trained to be an educator am I thinking about this, but mostly what you see is the school system failing, the teachers failing, and the officer failing for this one student, right? And it looks really bad. And that might be the case, because I wasn't there. So that might be the case. But all too often, there are a lot of irate students that get away with a lot. And the way that I felt as a person, not as an educator, but as a person, felt like the cop took a route that was extreme in a sense to prove a point. The student, I don't think, was uncomfortable. I don't think his arms were like... Yeah, it didn't look like his arms were like overly outstretched or something like, you know, like it's like...
He's screaming
like
at
there's
it,
an
like,
almond between his biceps behind his back, you know, like it's so... It literally was just an example of what happens. The way the cop said too, I was like, yeah, this is the consequence
reactions, yeah.
Where obviously I feel like the student probably has never seen before, because if he acts up, things happen. A lot of students, you know, they want attention, and if they don't get the attention doing the right way, an easy way to do it is going the wrong way, and they get a lot of attention.
So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and so, you know, you got to think, too, is, like, as far as, like, why did the teacher go to the extent of calling the officer into the classroom? It's like, one, did she feel that her or the other students were in physical harm? Like, you know, because the video doesn't start with the whole story. It just kind of picks up.
It's right off the back, he's handcuffed, the kid.
So it's like we don't, you know, just based on the video alone, we don't know what happened before. Which is not to say, like, well, the cop is innocent until proven otherwise. You know, yeah, I agree. It's an extreme way. You know, I think in that moment he was probably thinking, this is my time to shine. This is where I could be. This is where I can make a difference in this kid's life. Right. By showing him, like,
not
this
in
is what
like
happens
a
in the
vain way,
yeah,
like trying to be the hero, but
this is what happens in the adult world.
Really showing this kid some true, you know, real world shit. Maybe helping the kid out. Maybe calming him down because
he doesn't like the feeling, and then so it's like, well, do you want to feel this as an older person? Like,
right.
I can see that aspect. At the same time, you know, it's still a third grader.
Still a third grader.
And so it's like, so we don't know what happened before, because if, like, you know, what if the kid was going to the extent of throwing things at the teacher, throwing like pencils and scissors, or like, and even at the teacher, other students? What if they're hitting other students as this person's on the way over? Yeah. You know, it's like, what's going on?
Now the article did. An article is a media source, and the way it's written is by a perspective of someone, and it's usually an author that wants to get a lot of ratings. And what was said was that the student had a disability, and that word is thrown out a lot in education. And not that I'm against it, there are disabilities in education. There are students. And the more we progress as a society in education, we realize there's a lot more disabilities than they were before. I'm not this baby boomer that, you know, oh, if you just can't get it done, you're obviously disabled and there's something wrong with you. No, there really is a spectrum. You know, there really is these aspects of like autism and ADHD. And now, autism is a big one because there's a spectrum. There's really low, high functioning autism students that they have like there's the spectrum. They're autistic, but if they're really high functioning, they don't act like that. They're just kind of awkward with other students. It doesn't affect their behavior. It doesn't affect their
kind of like
learning.
socially.
They're just socially awkward. That's a high performing autistic student. And then a low performing is kind of like what a lot of people think of like Rain Man, where they really can't communicate.
Like toothpicks on the floor and
right. Yeah. And they're like that savant kind of thing where they have no aspect of other people around them. They take no social cues. And they can only focus on one thing at a time, and everything's just way too overwhelming for them. Their world is very different from the way they perceive it from what I'm gonna say a normal functioning general ed student perceives the world. Mm-hmm. Now disability, they use the word disability, and the thing is that a student, now that's autism. Even in autism, a high functioning autism student, they have a thing called an IEP, and an IEP is called an individualized education program. And you have to follow an IEP with their students' learning. This is where doctors are involved, and the principal's involved, and your teacher's involved, and this and that. Now, students can be diagnosed with ADHD, and they don't need an IEP, though. IEP is kind of a serious thing. They really have to have a lot of attention for their learning. Whereas the ADHD student, if they're really severe ADHD, they can have an IEP because they need it. If they have a touch of ADHD, they don't need one. Mm-hmm. But it's still a disability. So I'm speculating. This is me just watching this minute video, but I feel like because this is probably what happens more often than not, is that they have a touch of ADHD. It's diagnosed by a doctor, but it's not high enough for the IEP. If there was an IEP, that officer wouldn't have arrested, wouldn't have done this to the student. Mm-hmm. If there's an IEP, that's a form, a documentation of the student having issues. You wouldn't be that aggressive with someone with an IEP. You just wouldn't do it. The article said disability. He probably was diagnosed with ADHD. It's very low level ADHD. He just gets away with a lot. Probably, more or less.
I presume so.
That's how I really do see it.
Yeah.
And it's sad because the student at that level of ADHD, I was diagnosed with ADHD. There's 3 levels of ADHD too. There's inattention, there's the hyperactivity, and then there's like a middle ground between that. And I had the inattention where you just forget a lot of things, so it's not the hyperactivity. And then most people think of ADHD with the hyper where you're just bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, like you can't focus on one thing.
Yeah, and then there's a middle ground with that for the second level of ADHD. But he probably had one of those. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but as an educator, there's not an IEP for those levels of, depending on the level. If there was, the officer probably wouldn't have done what he did. He lost his job because of this, because probably someone around, because the teacher probably has had a problem with this student a lot, and he was obviously there and yelling, and even if it wasn't throwing scissors or being harmful, he's disrupting the classroom, and that's not okay.
It's not.
You can't stop the day of learning. And in Texas, this was in Kentucky, but in Texas, we have to teach the STARS test. We can't. Our days are limited of what we can shove into these kids. Our education system is fucked. It is, but we have to do it. And for the student, he probably gets away with a lot. God, that sounds bad. I'm not trying to demonize the student, but the way I'm trying to just talk about the aspects of education and how political correctness, which I'm all about political correctness, but there does need to be a spectrum the way there is with what we're doing. If you were to do that handcuff stuff to another kid that wasn't the disabled kid that had that ADHD, I don't know, my dad would have been all for it. My dad would have been like, if he didn't have put the cuffs on, he would have been like, came up to me and was like, if you don't quit acting a fool, you want me to go talk to these cops and tell them to put cuffs on you?
He was like, you want me to do that?
You know what I mean? Like, growing up, I remember my dad being like, I'm going to take, the thing was bad boy school. Or take.
I would get sent to the military school.
Yeah,
that was the threat for me.
Mine was bad boy school. They were like, you want to go to bad boy school? Because they're going to, you're going to get a slice of bread and a cup of water to eat. And that's what they used to tell me, And it would be like, no, I don't want to do that.
No.
Like, yeah, this kid probably, the parent, they hear, they're uneducated in the sense of what ADHD is or how they can perform with it. And a lot of parents with this age too, they ADHD. My kid, they like. I've worked at restaurants where one of the ladies, her kid got diagnosed with ADHD, and she had like a meltdown. And I remember, and I was in class, and I'm like, ADHD is not, depending on where they're at.
With the ADHD thing, like, to kind of go just on that little tidbit, it's hard to say, because, again...
It is hard to say. It's a spectrum. It is.
Like, well, like, the way I'm thinking of it is, like, I know ADHD is real. It's not saying, like, it's made up or anything like that.
It is real,
but it's like... Because I remember, and it goes back to saying, like, where it's like, oh, these millennials have a label for everything. It's like, when I was a kid,
Right.
Like, oh, those kids just need a spanking to stay in line. And you see the jokes, like, especially on South Park, they had one, like, where a commercial for ADHD, and it's like, I'm an ADHD specialist, and this and that. Like, here's my step. He slaps the kid, sit down and shut up! And the kid's like, okay. And, like, the kid stops acting crazy. Or crazy, quote unquote. And so it's like... it's like, that's a joke. It's funny because I laugh at anything, but it's like,
it's the extremes of it.
Yeah, it's over exaggerating what it is, and it's like, who knows? Maybe I have ADHD, but it's like, it's like I was, because my parents were really strict, like really really strict, and if I acted any type of silly, any single way, I would just get the look, stop doing what I'm doing. So it's like, I don't know if maybe I did, but my parents were able to control it without medicine, or like if there was an official diagnosis. Who knows? What that aspect is. Which I agree to that point. They're just not being disciplined at the house, and we can talk on that a little bit. But that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, well, maybe what if this kid, what if the kid does have ADHD, quote unquote, and like maybe he's one of the higher ends of the spectrum of it, with the hyperactivity. That's why he said he was screaming and everything like that. Or what if it's just a kid that's not disciplined, that he's used to screaming to get what he wants at the house, and then his parents leave him alone.
And they give it to him. Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, whatever, fine, you win, and give up. Maybe that's what he's thinking. He's so used to.
And that's a problem. That's a problem. And here's a law enforcement person who is showing him that that the ADHD thing and the spectrum in school, as an educator and in the education system, they try to accommodate a lot. There's the IDEA program in school where everyone is accommodated, and it's a good thing. I'm not bashing that. It is the way it should be.
Does it have anything to do with like the No Child Left Behind thing, or is that something else?
No, that's a Texas thing, and it is a national thing. But Texas gets the brunt of it because of fucking Bush. But which I would still take his horse over Trump right now. But but yeah, it's IDEA. It's IDEA. It's the. It's the Individual Disability Education Act or whatever. I think I was right on that actually. And everyone gets accommodated because, you have people in wheelchairs. And then the spectrum of disabilities is so broad. And back in the day, it wasn't as broad. And that was a problem. So a lot of students couldn't go to school. They had to drop out. And that's not okay.
Yeah.
It's good. We have a spectrum. And it's good to have the spectrum and to recognize this stuff so that everyone can get this kind of equal opportunity to get an education that we as a nation have said is at the least most basic of educations. That's great. But when it starts letting kids get away with stuff for behavioral stuff when they don't have a necessarily behavioral problem, doesn't help the student, and it doesn't help the teacher, it doesn't help the district, it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the parents either. But the parents are always, of course they're going to be, because it's their baby, it's their child, it's their shining star.
Who wouldn't be, to that first instance, maybe, if it's something like this is the first time you're ever hearing of this kind of thing. Because, a lot of times, too, the parents say, well, he's an angel at the house. He's perfect at the house. What if that child is? But when they get put in an environment that's outside of their norm, that's when you can really look at, is there something wrong with the child, like disability-wise?
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
No, that's pretty much all I was saying.
Well,
it's like,
and it goes back to, it's like it's a parents versus teachers thing.
It's just this big old realm.
Always, because there are a lot of parents that, as a teacher, you go, your student does not do A, B, and C, and they always act up. They're always defiant, and the parent goes, well, that just doesn't make sense. He's very good, well mannered at home. He goes and plays his games for 2 hours, and I don't hear a peep from him. It's like, yeah, but I'm making him do math now, and I'm making him do science, and I'm making him read. Like, school is not going to play video games all day. I get that he's good at school because you feed him and then you let him play video games and he's
happy.
He feels fine doing that. But here, he's got to apply himself more because it's school, because this is not home, and he's fighting me over it. I get that what you're doing works, but
because he loves it.
But we're not playing games here. You know what I'm saying? So this is where we need to talk about. Parent, why is he not doing this? Are you homework? Are you making him do you challenge him at home? Like, well, no, I just let him play video games, and because I'm busy and it helps. I put him in front of the TV and I'm good. You know,
bad. Like,
it's really, that is a very normal response from a lot of parents.
But I think that's such a modern day thing now, to be honest.
It is a modern day
because
thing.
I was not allowed to touch. I didn't get a cell phone until I was in high school.
Me too. Yeah.
Like I wasn't allowed to even look because we had one desktop computer and I was in my parents' room. I wasn't even allowed to look in the direction of my parents' room until I was
our
on
generation is of the one modem in the house, you know, where you had to sleep at 2 to go watch a porn. Whereas now we all have cell phones that, you know, these kids are getting just bombarded with information, and it's a good thing and it's a bad thing.
I don't like it. I'm just like
it can be a really great thing, but and then the disability thing is great because knowing the spectrum and knowing that a lot of people that we thought that just couldn't do stuff, it's not that they can't, they just need a little different way of teaching it, and they can get it too, and that's awesome. But that doesn't give... So the thing is, and I just want to make this clear, is that...
Go for it.
I don't know the situation.
Of the video.
Okay. Like, completely, I don't. And if the student really did have this big behavioral thing, then the cop was completely in the wrong. I understand that, and I can appreciate that situation. Absolutely. That was aggressive. It was way too aggressive for the situation, for that student. But I honestly, my point is that situation for a different student could be very... For myself, if I was that student and if I was acting that irate, that type of situation would have very much calmed me down. It would have very put stuff in perspective. And the way this officer did... And I don't like cops. I really don't. I really don't. So for me to stand up for one is saying something too. But if I was that student in that situation, that would have been a very sobering experience.
Like scared you straight.
Yeah,
like.
it would have been. So to fire someone about that, was that a helpful situation for a student? Was it not? I can appreciate where that could have went well, or where that could have been constructive. At the same time, I can understand I wasn't there. If this student had very severe or mild to severe disabilities, it was way overkill, and that was harmful for the student, for his psyche, and for trusting officers in the long run. I get that too. Mm-hmm. But this type of crossfire that we see, it's good to talk about because this stuff is new. That wouldn't have happened in our parents' age. If the cop would have done that, the parent would have came and said, "You had to be put in handcuffs."
Like you learned. Did you learn your lesson?
That's how crazy you were acting. That the officer had to come put you in handcuffs. What do we need to work on that you will never do that again? Mm-hmm. Things have changed. Now it's, you know, we have the spectrum of disability and learning disabilities and how things can work. And now we're saying, was that constructive? Was it not? That's good. We're asking questions. Later on, hopefully, we can really define if that's helpful or
for
not.
Sure.
Yeah. So
it's tough. Like I don't know. Like, cause me, I'm very gung ho about being a parent. Like
you are.
I love.
I am not.
I know. It's like I love kids. Like just before when we were about to record, we were watching. Because I'm a big wrestling fan, and what got Leslie into wrestling is on the E! channel, the Entertainment Network. Uh-huh. They have the reality.
Wrestling's on E!?
The reality shows about the girls.
Oh yeah.
Total Bellas, Total Divas.
Girl wrestlers.
The female wrestlers, yeah, they have a reality show to appeal more to girls.
God.
That's how Leslie got into wrestling.
Okay.
Leslie started watching that show without my knowledge.
That was great on their part to make that show. That's smart.
Hey, yeah, it helped me because now we're going to, because you know how I shared a lot of Bullet Club stuff all over and everything, and I'm always throwing up Too Sweet. So they wrestle exclusively with this. I shouldn't say exclusively, without getting into technicalities, whatever. So the wrestling promotion they kind of fight a lot with is called Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is coming to San Antonio on November 17th, and they've already announced like what's kind of pushing it, like the sales, is that Bullet Club is going to be there. And I'm like, oh shit! Like because I'm a big fanboy of wrestling. I'm like, I gotta go. So Leslie bought me tickets for my birthday. But like just before we were coming over, Leslie loves the Bella twins, Nikki and Brie Bella. She loves them. She loves watching it every week. So tonight was the season finale of Total Bellas, and it was like going over when John Cena proposed to Nikki Bella at WrestleMania, and it was because we watched it live because of course it's the biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Right.
So Leslie was all. I remember when it happened. Leslie was crying at my parents' house. She's like, I can't believe John finally proposed. And I'm like, what? She goes, that's going to be on next season of Total Bellas. I just know it. And I'm like, oh my god. So the kind of the simultaneous thing going on is that there was John Cena proposing to Nikki Bella at WrestleMania, which this was the season finale. And then her sister, Brie Bella, giving birth to their child with her husband, Daniel Bryan, who's another big famous wrestler, who was also the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion of all time. But anyway, so they're giving birth, and, and they're showing, they're kind of showing it, and everything, how she's all, this and that, and, because Brie Bella and her husband, Daniel Bryan, they're very vegan, they're very natural, eco-friendly things. They were going to have a home birth, a water birth. So
one of the wrestlers is vegan?
Well, there's tons of wrestlers that are vegan.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so, but this guy, after he retired because he had a lot of neck injuries and he had a lot of concussions and stuff, he had to retire, so he didn't like being, on painkillers and everything for drugs and stuff. He wanted to find more home remedies and stuff like that for pain, and he went very herbal and, like, not weed or anything, but he went very, like, yeah, so, like, he got really into gardening and doing everything, so, and then his wife just really loved that, too, and they're very eco-friendly and very, environmentally conscious and whatnot, so they didn't want to do a hospital birth with drugs and this and that. They were going to do a water birth, but then the pain was just too excruciating. When she started getting contraction stuff, they took her to a hospital. And they had like the they had the doula or something, the like a midwife type thing.
Oh, okay.
And so and then so they were like, okay, we're going to do this, but we don't want any type of surgery or anything like that. Ended up starting to have complications with the birthing process. We're going to need to have a C-section. And Daniel Bryan, who's the main guy that's really gung-ho about drugs and this kind of stuff, he's like, I saw my wife in pain. He goes from one wrestler to another because his wife is a wrestler too. She's retired. To see somebody that can take hits, punches, chair shots, just, to see them go through excruciating pain every single day with being on tour and stuff, to see her like that, I just knew that we didn't have any other option. And then it's our child, so they.
I mean, they're there for those procedures, or
exactly, like to protect both of them.
Right.
So like they gave birth. They showed a little bit of the C-section where they yanked the baby out, which I didn't know, by the way, how vigorously they yank them out. But to the moral of the story I was getting to is like
they move the organs over and everything.
Yeah, dude, it's intense.
Yeah.
To see like their happiness, to see like how excited they were to have their baby, and I was getting emotional. Like I was watching it, and Leslie's watching it, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, I want a baby so bad. Like I love babies. Like. And like so many guy friends make fun of me, like, you want a kid? I don't even want my kid. Like,
yeah,
I'm just
I have no aspiration for that at all.
I can't wait to do it. And I'm like, so like with being a father, like, I joke around saying I want a boy. Even if I have a girl, it's like, I don't know how I would react if I got, because I know just how I was raised. Because I'm a pretty chill person, and I know I'm going to be very relaxed with my kid, which my parents started getting relaxed with me as I was getting older. It's like, I just know, because, like, my dad, he's ex-military, very to a T, very stern, and he would yell a lot, which is probably where I get a lot of my anger problems from, because, and so, like...
Monkey see, monkey do.
Like, I didn't like being screamed and yelled at as a kid, because, like, that made me be terrified of my father for the longest time.
I think that's why I don't like confrontation either.
It's like,
I'm
so...
used to being yelled at, too.
It's like, so, I don't want to yell him. I don't want my kid to fear me, but at the same time, I want to let my kid know that I'm not going to let you act crazy and act... not even say the word crazy, because that can be construed as offensive or whatever. But it's like, I don't want to let you act a certain way because I want you to have...
No, crazy isn't that?
Like, it's like, I want you to be raised right, I guess you can say, without sounding judgmental.
Right.
It's like, so, Like, but like I just know like if I get a call like, hey, Mr. Claire, had to bring your son or daughter into the office. This is what they were doing. I know I'll be mad at my daughter or son or daughter because I'll be like, that's not how me and your mother raised you. That's not what we teach you to be at the house.
Right.
And I'll do the whole, you're grounded, you're losing this, you're losing that, whatever little accessories they have by the time technology advances then. It's like, I know I'd be like that. I don't know if I could ever place blame on an actual teacher.
Right.
Like, is what I was trying to say, like, without that tangent I went on. But
no,
it's like,
it's lead up to it. No.
it's like, I don't know. Like, I know teachers are there for a reason.
I think parents, and I think now, like, parents when we were in school are a different generation to us at our age and the kids that are in school and their parents. Because a lot of their parents are our age or, around that age. And I think they have this disposition of sounding mean because I feel like maybe our Generation X parents were kind of mean, and we kind of want to stay away from that. Which, yeah, I think from my experience, a lot of my parents were kind of maybe a little more aggressive than they needed to be. So my aspect is, as a parent, I don't want to be mean, but I'm okay with being sharp. And that's the way I think of it, you gotta be sharp with some things. You don't have to be very aggressive. Now the thing is, where does sharp bleed into, right? Spanking as a little kid, I think is okay.
Slap on the hand.
Slap on the hand.
Because that's what I got a lot when I was a kid. Like,
yeah,
slap
the
on the
hand or the butt, because there's a lot of fat there. It's not really to hurt them. It's not really to like maim them or sort of like really like.
You will learn from your mistakes.
The thing is that as a little kid, I'm teaching you not to do this through a little bit of discomfort, because life is suffering and life has discomfort, and I'm giving you this discomfort to show that this is not right.
Don't do it, because if you
Just
do this, this happens.
Yeah,
like,
and when I give it to you, it's a little bit of discomfort, but when you do it, later on, it could be a lot of discomfort and a lot of worse things of how you act. Now, and then it gets blurred, because if they get older, as they get older and they get stronger, obviously, little things of discomfort don't hurt. You can't spank them on their butt because it doesn't really care. You start...
Or they start liking
sometimes,
it because they're hitting puberty.
Hopefully not from you, but...
No, I hope
but
not.
maybe they start... Yeah, true. But, I think a point... Well, see, the thing was, too, when I remember one time... I was kind of a bad kid, but I was never a bad kid. I was never defiant to my parents, like, openly, like, I hate you guys, stay out of my life. But I was very, like,
I learned my
sneaky.
lesson from saying that kind of stuff.
I always thought my parents were super cool. I never really felt the need to defy them or to go against them as some kids do. But there was a time where I would get in trouble because I was very indulgent. I was very hedonistic in my upbringing, and I started getting into drugs and alcohol, and it was very hedonistic. I liked just the pleasure of it. And I got in trouble one time, and I got put on it was like a house arrest through my parents. Like the court wasn't involved, but they were like, if your parent, it's up to your parents. So like, if you break curfew and they tell us, then we're gonna step in. Like, it was up to my parents. So like, don't disobey your parents. And,
yeah.
And my dad still let me go out though, because it was a split marriage, and he just kind of whatever. He was like, well, I don't want to like take all your freedom away. He was trying to be a cool dad, right?
Right.
So I did stay, and it was by accident. I tried to get home on time, but I got lost, and I ended up getting home like an hour late for curfew, and I had my friend stay with me, and my dad went up to me, and he was like, it was Vincent, when, oh fuck, he was like, when was your curfew? And I was like, it was 2 o'clock, and like, what time is it? And he was like, I was like, it's 3, but I got lost, I didn't mean, he was like, whap! Just fucking slapped the shit out in front of my friend and everything too, right? And it was rough. That was rough. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I never missed curfew.
Right? Because you learn.
And to be honest, when I went downstairs, I actually kind of was like, because to be honest, I remember driving home lost because I was like, fuck, I thought it was going to be worse. I thought it would be worse. So even that was kind of, for me, it was just like, okay,
you took the slap,
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I teared up because of the pain a little bit.
Well, yeah.
And the embarrassment a little bit with my friend. But my dad actually felt worse about it. I remember the next day he was like,
I can't.
You know
believe
what?
it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he's like. I am so sorry. I can't believe I did that to you. And I was like, you know what? And this is me as a sophomore or a junior, and I was like, I will never miss curfew again. You know?
Yeah, like,
so for me, that worked. I can again, it's a spectrum as a student, and how that works. Some students would maybe take that as a big way to like go against go against your parents now because they did this to you. I didn't, and with my disposition, it's hard for me to understand other students that do take this defiance when their parents act that way towards them. I don't get it. But I try to get it, but I really don't get it because I'm like, when that happened to me, I totally broke down and was like, "Yep, never do that again."
With me, like I said, like when I was in elementary school, I went through a lot of weird phases. I wouldn't even want to say phases. I went to anger management when I was in elementary school.
Jesus.
Like, yeah, like I was. Like, and I get it, like, my dad and, his father...
He looked at the Buddha statue when he said that, too.
Yeah, I was like, man.
Like, you feel bad about it or something.
Dude.
There's no guilt in Buddhism, so saying Catholic.
Right.
Yeah.
But, no, like, I would get mad, like, especially if I got picked on, because I'm a nerdy looking guy now. I was even nerdier looking back when I was a kid. Like, terrible. Because my nose was already the size it is now. Like, it was...
As a little kid.
As a little kid, it just outweighed my whole face. So, I was like...
Tip over.
And so, like, it was just a lot of, like, getting picked on and everything like that, where, like, it just made me mad all the time. And I was like... And, and seeing my dad at work, because my dad works in asset protection for Walmart, where he stops shoplifters and he stops internals and stuff like that, like... Walmart was very lenient with the way you can rough them up and stuff. Not like beat them up and shit, but like you can like grab them, throw them to the floor and stuff like that while you're waiting for the cops to get there because they're in your store.
Right.
You're protecting your merchandise. You need to do what you need to do so that way SAPD can take over from where you guys left off.
Right.
So it was like I've seen my dad many times, choke slam people and this and that as a little kid. And I thought, as a kid, well, that guy's being mean to my dad, and this is what my dad's doing.
I can do this.
If somebody's being mean to me, I can do this. So I got a lot in trouble for a lot of fighting when I was a kid, and so, and I would do that so that, your son has a lot of anger problems. It's recommended you put him in with anger management with the counselor and everything.
Has your father ever had anger problems?
Oh, my dad has anger problems crazy.
But professionally, had to...
Professionally, I'm not too sure. I know as Walmart started getting stricter and stricter with like now you can't even touch them. Like
really?
like now you can't even touch them because there's too many lawsuits against the asset protection people touching the shoplifters.
Yeah.
Now once they hit like towards like if they're already at the front of the store, you gotta let them go.
Yeah.
Like you just gotta call the cops on them if you got any info on them. Call the cops, SAPD, or well in his case Helotes PD.
I remember the thing in high school was if you get out the door, you're good.
Yeah, it used to be that point. Once they got to that metal detector thing, that was it. If they get past the cash register, now that's it. You lost that merch. You're done. So because he was an asset protection manager, and he was one of the first APMs in San Antonio when the position first rolled out. So and he has tons of awards at my house, like at my parents' house, where he's been top APM of the year, APM of the quarter, APM of the state. Because he follows guidelines to a T. So as the guidelines got stricter, my dad got, stricter with his associates, his APAs is what they're called.
Oh, okay.
And so, being a manager, he more or less deals more with internals, like employee shoplifting and stuff, as opposed to the actual shoplifters. So, as far as professional goes, I've never heard my dad get in a lot of trouble because of how highly regarded he is within the company. So I don't presume that ever happened. But as far as my anger goes, this is how bad my anger was. When I got put in one anger management class, little huddle group or whatever you call it,
sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. And it was me, and it was kids that picked on me. Like, it was other kids that were in this thing that picked on me. So I remember being in this little thing, and then we were talking about, okay, well, let's talk about things that make you happy and this and that. One of the things was like, do you have any pets? And my first dog ever, we had a dog named Mimi, Mimi. So I said, so I was like, oh, my dog Mimi. this one kid named Josh Talbot. I just remember his
that piece of shit.
dick and his little mole on his face. He was like, Mimi is a stupid name for a dog. I legit jumped over the table and punched him right in the face. Like, I was just like, you motherfucker.
God.
Like, in my head. Like, I was like, you made fun of my dog? Like, fuck you. Like, I was bad. So I had to get put in a whole different, like, a special anger management class. Like, I was bad. And so, as I got out of elementary school, like, I calmed it down because those counseling really helped me. And, you know, granted, it was in school. You know, it was cool to get out of class for like an hour or two a day and, you know, do this thing. So when I got to middle school, I was really good. And I was really scared because I went to a kind of a rough middle school for our side of town, in the Petrenko area. I went to Pease Middle School. And so kids were cussing like nonstop and the teachers didn't even care. There was like 3 fights that broke out on the first day of school alone. Like, kids already had tattoos and they were 6th graders. And like, there was kids with, like, I shit you not, I'm not over exaggerating, kids with teardrop tattoos already. I'm just like, this is terrible because it's closer to the Marbach area and everything like that. So it's like, okay. And so I remember my dad telling me on the first day of school, like, I still want you to behave like the way you've learned from counseling and stuff. But if somebody hurts you, if somebody hits you, you will not be in trouble here at home if you are defending yourself. Like, I will not get after you for that.
How much? Where are we at?
We are at. Oh, we got time, buddy. We're at an hour 15. Go on, say what you're going to say. I'll stop right there.
No, I think that is an interesting aspect of the parent household to teach the kid. I was taught that too. I was taught, you know, if they throw the first punch, all bets are off. And at home, and it was actually more of like that's what you should do. If they throw the first punch, you need to throw a harder punch.
Stick up for yourself and.
I don't think I will. I'm not gonna say disagree with it, but I don't think I'll teach my kid that because I don't follow that. I always felt really uncomfortable with that actually because I guess and for you as a kid, I guess I made a lot of sense and it actually kind of maybe was how you already felt. Mm-hmm. And maybe it didn't help, but for me as a kid, again, I've always, like I said, I don't know if I said this before the podcast or not. Buddhists, I'm a Buddhist, but Buddhists are not synonymous with pacifists, which people a lot connotate that as the same. But I just am a pacifist as a person without the Buddhism. Before all that, I don't believe in violence. I don't think that anger or violence fixes anything. So as a student, and I got picked on because I was kind of weird and whatever. And now everyone likes me a lot, which is funny because. It was not the same when I was in middle school, but now I have friends, and I didn't used to have a lot of friends.
I'm pretty sure I would like you in middle school and high school.
No, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have. No, because I didn't have a lot of friends, and I don't know. I was eccentric or whatever, as I am now. But people appreciate it, and when you get older, right? But when I got picked on, the stigma, what I was taught was, for my mother and my father both was. Well, and I'm big. I'm 6'2". If no one knows, I'm 6'2". You know, right now I'm
he's
really
over
big.
6 foot.
Yeah, right now I'm really big. But even then I was always big too. And it was always like, you're bigger than them. Just, you know, lay it down, lay the smack. And I used to watch wrestling too, actually, back in the day.
Lay
like,
the smack
yeah,
down.
you know, and they were like, if you're getting picked on, you need they throw the first punch, you need to throw a harder punch and this and that. It's very uncomfortable for me as a student because I didn't want to throw a punch, but I felt like if I wasn't aggressive back, I was like not doing the right thing because my family was saying that's what I should have done. That's how I should act. It's very aggressively.
It wasn't like my dad was promoting like, hey, go start picking fights and stuff. But
no, mine wasn't either promoting fights, but at the same time they were promoting a fight back.
Yeah, and because because technically the elementary school I went to was very white, like not a lot of rough looking kids went there. Mm-hmm. But like the middle school I was going to, my parents were very scared for me to go there. Because I was supposed to go to Jordan Middle School, which is where a lot of my friends and classmates were going to, but because we moved from the neighborhood.
The nice side of town?
I wouldn't even say that because I was like.
No, just saying because you said it was white. So
yeah,
the nice side of town to the.
Because it was on Culebra. Yeah, it was like so we went from the neighborhood where I knew everybody at, and we moved over there to the Petrenko SeaWorld area, but. They were building a new middle school, which is where I went for 8th grade, but it wasn't done yet. I was too far away from Jordan So the only option was for me to go to Pease. And my parents were scared for me because of my anger history, because of the, you know, how I was as an elementary schooler. They were scared that, like, the kids were going to be bigger and meaner to me and make even more fun of me and this and that. Like, they were scared that I was going to get beat up every single day. And so, because when I was in elementary school, it was like, if somebody makes you upset and you get into a fight, whoever threw the first punch, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be getting violent. You shouldn't be getting physical with people.
Yeah.
I think my dad was just scared because I was super...
You want to just stick up for yourself and let them know that you're not just going to take
Like, I was scrawnier than I am now, and he's like, you know, and my dad... Like, I'm not dumb. I know my dad was telling me because I look like a dork, you know. I was going in with a polo and, you know, and... No, actually, the first day of middle school, I went with a t-shirt that had a camouflaged iPod that said Major Tunes. That was the shirt that I wanted to wear my first day in middle school.
iPods were not even a thing until I was like in high school. Shit.
So it was like my dad was just like nervous for me because, you know, I was going to a rough middle school.
It was like a prison thing. You wanted to establish like
I'm the top bitch here.
I'm not gonna take your shit.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas me listening, and I'm not a parent, but if listening to that scenario, thinking about it as a parent, I would have been like, Don't go crazy because they might kill you. Like, if they go hard and you go harder, they might go even harder.
Yeah, I was like, you don't know what other people are capable of.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I stand with that. I'm not gonna say it's wrong to teach that for as a parent or as that ideology of, you know, I mean, you shouldn't take shit. You shouldn't take shit. That's not the point. And that connotation as a pacifist is like, oh, just take all the shit, because I don't believe that either.
And I say, when I get angry, I'm a verbal person. I'm a really verbal person before I get to the physical aspect. Like, and I've developed that over time because I know I'm not the smartest guy. I know I have a little bit of college under my belt, but I've noticed that again, like, I was very good at, like, I'm very good at
You
reading.
have better conversations than I have with most college students, to be honest. Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And, like, I know, like, my vocabulary, and my fiance is way smarter than me, I know that. But I say a lot of things, I say a lot of words that my fiance doesn't know.
You have better conversations than
So it's like, when I'm mad at somebody, I'm saying a lot of shit to them. I cuss a lot. That's a downfall. I cuss a lot. So it's like, and I'm saying shit, and I'm like, you fucking, like, that
doesn't.
But and like, I see a lot of things.
I get what
like,
you mean, though. Connotation of cuss words is like a lower kind of vocabulary, but not really.
And so, like, and the people look at me like, what did you call me? And I'm like, oh, are you too fucking stupid and comprehend what I said? Like, and I'm like that, and they're like, kind of like, I don't even want to, what? Like, they don't even want to...
Comprehend what?
Like, they don't even want to, like, do anything with me anymore because they're like, I don't know what this guy is saying. Like, what the fuck? And that kind of deters people away from me because I feel like I outword them, or like I don't know. I guess, like, it's something like that.
Conversation is way above the... Conversation is a way better tool than aggression. And the thing for me, honestly, I've never really had physical conversation. I think I've had one physical confrontation where a guy punched me out at a bar very randomly, and I still to this day don't really understand what happened. I really don't. I won't even get into it. He really just, I came out, I think we were talking about smoking or something, and he just punched the fuck out of me. And I was really drunk, and he was really drunk, and who knows. But other than that, I've never had really any physical confrontation. It's always been through words, though. That's always been the biggest arguments, or the biggest confrontations are through arguments, through words, and that's where shit really hits the fan for me. It's always been like, how can you word your argument better than myself or whoever, or what standpoint I have?
What?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. Who cares?
Who cares, bro?
I care, David.
Thank you.
Y'all don't gotta care.
You don't have to care.
And
if you listen through all that, props, because that got real.
This is a good one, though. I mean, that's some drama.
For sure.
I mean, you can see me, but my mouth is dropped about halfway.
Yeah, like he was all like, wow.
I had no idea. Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm an actor, so I keep it all under wraps. So
it all kind of makes sense now. When I remember asking about your brother about the cigarette, and you were like, "Huh, No, he's not coming.
He's not coming.
Yeah.
Just kind of moved on real quick
Right.
from the next one because I
Right.
knew it would be. If I prolonged, it would have been this. But thank you for listening to episode 5.
Yes, thank you to you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. If we did post something on 4chan to message us while we're recording, it doesn't look like we got any hits.
No.
So, but it's okay. Who cares?
Who cares?
So we'll try again next week. But until then, I've been David Clare.
This is the Teach. Bitch, you guessed it!